Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om no Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanam Tiramdasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading from Srīmad Bhāgavatam, chapter 7, text number 40. Sūta vacha evam parikṣata dharmam partha krishnena chodita naichadhantum guru sūtam yadyapi atma hanam mahan. Would anybody like to read the word to word and the translation, please? Okay, that's fine. I can read it. Sūta Gosvāmī, Vacha, said, Evam, this, Parikshata, being examined, Dharmam, in the matter of duty, Partha, Sri Arjuna, Krishnena, by Lord Krishna, Chodita, being encouraged, Na Aichat, did not like, Hantum, to kill, Guru Sutam, the son of his teacher, Yadyapi, although, Atmanam, murderer of sons, Mahan, very great. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Sūta Gosvāmī said, although Krishna, who was examining Arjuna in religion, encouraged Arjuna to kill the son of Droṇācārya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Aśvatthāmā was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. Purport. Arjuna was a great soul undoubtedly, which is proved here also. He is encouraged herein personally by the Lord to kill the son of Drona. But Arjuna considers that the son of his great teacher should be spared, for he happens to be the son of Droṇācārya, even though he is an unworthy son, having done all sorts of heinous acts whimsically for no one's benefit. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa encouraged Arjuna to outwardly just to test Arjuna's sense of duty. It is not that Arjuna was incomplete in the sense of his duty, nor was Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa unaware of Arjuna's sense of duty. But Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa put to test many of his pure devotees just to magnify the sense of duty. The gopis were put to such test as well. Prahlad Maharaj was also put to such a test. All pure devotees come out successful in the respective test by the Lord. So we can see over here that the second question that has been posed by the sages has been addressed. So the second question was, how was Sūta Gosvāmī viewed by others, and how did Maharaj Parikshit transpire? How did his meeting with Maharaj Parikshit transpire? So before addressing this answer, the answer to this question directly, he narrates the events that transpired at the conclusion of Kurukshetra battle. Why are we suddenly talking about Kurukshetra, and why are we talking about all these events that happened towards the end? Would anybody like to respond to that? That's okay. So basically, before addressing anything, we are talking about the events that transpired at the conclusion of Kurukshetra was because it is then that Maharaj Parikshit was born. And that's when the Srīmad Bhāgavatam got spoken. I think this was again addressed in previous verses also. So we can see in this particular text that Krishna is testing. The word used over here is parikshata, which is an exam. So he's examining. And Arjuna is responding to that exam. So there's a question in the exam, in the test, and Arjuna is responding to that. Now, Prabhupada says that he was just trying to see how Arjuna decides, what is his thought process. So there are so many practical lessons that we can see from these particular texts that we are reading, on the way the dialogue is going on between Krishna and Arjuna, between Draupadi, Arjuna. We can see so many different practical lessons that we can actually implement in our lives as well. We can see over here that Krishna says that we do not have to accept things blindly. As things are thrown our way, we don't have to accept them. Srila Prabhupada would always, time and time again, say that we have to be independently thoughtful. And that is such an important lesson, that all of us need to be independently thoughtful. We are not just blind followers. One time when Burijan Prabhu was in Carpinteria, it was, I think, very early in this state, that Giriraj Maharaj had so much appreciation and affection. Time they decided to go on a morning walk. And as they were going on a morning walk at the beach in Carpinteria, it was low tide. So they could walk a long distance. So as they were walking, Burijan Prabhu was walking really fast. And it was at one point, and Giriraj Maharaj was following him. At one point, it so happened that Burijan Prabhu was really far away. And soon, Burijan Prabhu was nowhere to be seen, and Giriraj Maharaj now was panicking. Didn't know, he was phoning devotees. There were cars out looking out for him. And then they eventually found Burijan Prabhu, and it turned out that he made one wrong turn somewhere along the way and ended up at a place where he was not meant to be. And so people didn't expect him to be at that place, and that's where he was found. And after this, Burijan Prabhu said to Giriraj Maharaj that this will teach you not to follow me, because you may end up going the wrong way. Of course, this was said in a very joking way, but Burijan Prabhu could see the awe and reverence from Giriraj Maharaj, and he was also encouraging Giriraj Maharaj to be independently thoughtful. And this is a pastime that has been narrated by Giriraj Maharaj on the appearance day of Burijan Prabhu in one of his offerings. So we can see over here that Arjuna's decision was very right. Arjuna's decision was right because it says over here, Naicha Dhantum Guru Sutam. He thought that although Aśvatthāmā is a criminal, he should be killed. But I am going to kill him on account of my sons, or our sons being killed by him. We are so much aggrieved. So if I kill Aśvatthāmā in that way, then his mother is over here. She would be so very unhappy. In relation to this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada shares a beautiful story of Shah Jahan. And he's actually quoted this story a couple of times. So Shah Jahan was one of the Mughal emperors of India. And one of the Dharma writers, Mr. P.L. Rai, he wrote a book by the title Shah Jahan. But the activities of the whole book was all about the inferious action of Aurangzeb. Now, inferious is the cruel actions of Aurangzeb. He was killing his brothers, arresting the father, killing so many, innocent people. So the whole book revolved around Aurangzeb. So then one friend of Mr. Rai asked him, your book, the Shah Jahan, is the activities are all about Aurangzeb. So the actual hero is actually Aurangzeb. Why not have your book named Aurangzeb? Why do you have your books named as Shah Jahan? So he replied that although Shah Jahan is silent, but the effect is going to him. When Aurangzeb killed his elder brother, Dara, then the effect was suffered by Shah Jahan. So all the activities of Aurangzeb was actually suffered by Shah Jahan. The real world, that the only pain that is bigger than killing of your own child is when your body is 99% burnt. So we are talking about physical pain over here, right? But this emotional pain is so much more higher than any pain, any other pain in the world. So in that way, Shah Jahan was actually struggling, and he was continuously going through so many pains. Therefore, he said, the author said, the Shah Jahan is the real hero. Similarly, in this instance as well, if if Arjun would have killed Aśvatthāmā, that is right. I should kill him. But the effect will go on to the mother. His mother, she is innocent. And in the absence of her husband, who is Arjun's guru as well, Arjun thought it was their duty to look after her comforts. Right? One of the 7 mothers, they say, is the wife of your guru. And that's why they're protecting. They're trying to protect. Arjuna is over here trying to protect the mother of Aśvatthāmā, who is also his guru's mother. So now if he decides to kill Aśvatthāmā, then she will suffer through the old age. So therefore, na aicha dhantum guru sutam. He did not kill or Aśvatthāmā. Or maybe he did. I don't want to give that away. Although Krishna advised him to kill him, he did not like it. Guru sutam. And this is real consciousness, where a devotee is very sensitive, is aware about the situation, and refers to Shastra to take some sort of decision. Right? Even if there is duty, we have to see what will be the effect of that duty. Not everything should be done very blindly, as it has been pointed out. So Arjun, this is a real devotee. Devotee means he's not blind. It is said in Srīmad Bhāgavatam, text 18, chapter 18, text 12, Yasyati bhaktir bhagvati akinchana sarve gunes tatra samsate sura. Bhagavad bhakta means he will act in such a way that all qualified, nobody can criticize him. And that is Bhagavad bhakta. Sarve gunes, sarva gunas. So he has all the guns. He's complete in that way. So we can learn over here that Krishna puts a lot of his devotees to test. Even in our practical life, we can see we go through a lot of tests. The moment we feel a little proud of anything, there'll be immediate testing that happens. And that test is very, very important, because that test will actually purify us. The moment, actually, practically, I have seen it in my life, that once when I was chanting, and I think I chanted really well then, and I suddenly felt this, instead of becoming more humble, there was this sort of pride that came into me. Oh, I chanted such good rounds. Everything is done before 6 a.m. It is all sorted. I was really happy and pleased with myself. And there was an immediate effect that came in to that. And the immediate realization of that effect was, have I really chanted today? Was that real chanting? If that gives me pride, that is not chanting. I should become more humble. I should connect more to Krishna in that sort of way. So that is not real chanting. So even we must, in our day-to-day lives, observe ourselves, what we are doing, and what changes do we see in ourselves. If giving a class, Bhagavatam class, is giving me pride, so is that really a service that I'm offering? So every little service, doing decoration, if someone praises us, we feel really happy. But we need to pass on that happiness, that gratefulness to Srila Prabhupada, to our Guru, and that is very important. We have to take all the praises and pass them on. And that is a very important thing. So on a day-to-day basis, it's very important that we introspect on where we are heading towards. And that's a practical lesson. We do not have to blindly follow. Srila Prabhupada would always go to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, because Tamal Krishna Maharaj was independently thoughtful about a lot of things. So for big decisions, Srila Prabhupada would actually consult Tamal Krishna Maharaj, because he was independently thoughtful. He would give his thoughts very nicely, in a very submissive way. He would put his thoughts across. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says, blindness, talking about blindness, we shouldn't blindly follow. He talks about 3 types of blindness. The first one is Dhritarashtra's blindness, which is physical illness, right? We are physically ill, and that was, in Dhritarashtra's case, that was very evident. The other type of blindness, the second type, is Duryodhana's blindness, which is very prejudiced. He had the functional eyes, but his greed for the kingdom and envy towards the Pandavas had completely blinded him. He couldn't see any good in the Pandavas. He could not see any good in Krishna, right? He could not see any good in Krishna, who is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even in preparing for the Kurukshetra war, he could not see the Krishna factor, and he could not understand that whatever material calculations he is doing, that's not going to work, because Krishna is in the picture. So that is Duryodhana's blindness, which is very prejudiced. And then the third type of blindness is Arjun's blindness. Now, Arjuna's blindness is very circumstantial. When Arjuna saw at the beginning, we read in Bhagavad Gita that when he saw his relatives assembled for a fight to death, he became blind to his responsibilities as a Kshatriya. He found himself completely paralyzed. He was perplexed. His circumstantial blindness was removed. How was it removed? Because he completely surrendered to Krishna. Even over here, we have seen in the previous text that when the weapon was released, when the Brahmastra was released, he didn't know what to do. He completely surrendered himself to Krishna. So time and time again, Arjuna turns to Krishna for many, many decisions. So the physical lack of sight, we cannot do anything about that. If there is something like in the case of Dhritarashtra. But when one is spiritually blind, that is when there is a problem. So even though physically fit, that blindness, that spiritual blindness is dangerously detrimental to the progress of our human life. So Dhritarashtra, we can see, was blind from birth. Actually, unfortunately, he also lacked spiritual vision. Right? We very well know, and we've also seen in Bhagavad Gita that he knew that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion. He was aware about that fact, but he could never reach the understanding with the Pandavas. Right? He was sure that they would never reach an understanding that the Pandavas had, which were all pious since birth. But he was so much in love with his sons that he completely ignored the spiritual vision. He was just looking at things materially. So we have to be independently thoughtful. We cannot be blindly following anything, because Krishna is going to put us to test again and again to see if we are independently thoughtful. And we can rely on Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra to get a spiritual vision. And those three things are very important. When we have any confusion in life, we have to rely on our Guru, and Sadhus. We have got many senior Vaishnavas in our Yatra, and Shastra. And these three things together can actually give us a spiritual vision. And then I can think for myself, and that's why I choose to obey Krishna. And that should be the mood when we are perplexed in life, instead of being blindly following anything. Is there, before I move forward, are there any questions that you would have on text 40?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, I've got a question for you.
Yes, Prabhu.
Now, we are talking about Aśvatthāmā.
Yes.
Killing the 5 sons of Arjuna.
Yes.
Now, we know that he's the son of, Aśvatthāmā is the son of Droṇācārya. And Droṇācārya took the side of Duryodhana for material reasons. And it looks like he's not spiritual in that sense. And therefore, Aśvatthāmā seems to have done this heinous crime. And if that is the situation, how can then we call Droṇācārya to be a great soul?
Prabhu, to be honest, I don't have an answer to that, but I was reading it yesterday somewhere that Bhishma Dev and Droṇācārya, they do have they did take some decisions, but there were some reasons behind it. Probably someone on the group can respond to that. I can see Sakhi Roy Prabhu on there. Sakhi Roy Prabhu, would you like to respond to that, please?
Oh, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Yeah.
When Prabhupada speaks of all these different devotees, there are some instances where they will be put into bad light, so to say. But ultimately, even Bhishma Dev, for example, if you take the Leela of Bhishma Dev trying to kill Arjuna, you'll think, how can he be called a great soul? But he is a great soul. And similarly, all these people who are there, the personalities were there, Krishna himself respects them. So, and this is the reason Krishna, when he stopped the chariot, he stopped right in front of Bhishma, Droṇācārya, and all of them. So, Droṇācārya is a Brahmana, he's a teacher, he's a martial arts teacher, and that's why he's also a great soul. yes, there are, defects and there's mistakes being made. But at the end of the day, these people, as Krishna says, Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritim ashritam. So one who's Mahatma, Krishna says is, even if they have made mistakes, but still in my eyes, they are Mahatmas. Does it make sense, Prabhu? Mataji?
Yes, yes. I hope it satisfies Prabhu as well.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Sorry, I got one question here again. So in
Yes.
that case, Aśvatthāmā is also a great soul. Is that correct? What I'm interpreting?
No, Mataji, I don't think so. Like, he was completely blinded, Mataji. He was completely blinded by, in the way he wanted to take revenge. He was completely blinded in that sort of way. So he was, I would not consider him to be a great soul in that sense.
Okay, that's okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Can I
Thank
share
you.
something here?
Yes, please, Prabhu.
So again, the nature of the crime was, a factor in understanding that Aśvatthāmā had to be punished. Droṇācārya, of course, he was just the father of Aśvatthāmā, but what Aśvatthāmā did was completely unpardonable. And for any act, actually, if you understand, any act to make a Krishna angry has to be really, really bad. And Aśvatthāmā made both Arjuna and Krishna angry at the same time. You'll hardly find any instance in the Shastra where a devotee and the Lord themselves, they're both angry at the same time in such serious manner. So Aśvatthāma's crime was very, very heinous and very serious. So yes, Aśvatthāma cannot be called a great soul.
Sorry, Prabhu, I understand the point you're saying that Droṇācārya is a great soul. My only point is when Droṇācārya and Bhishma were there, when Draupadi was derobed, it was, to my mind, it's a very serious crime as well. And Aśvatthāmā, being the son of Droṇācārya, seems to have blindly followed the morality or immorality of his father in not taking a stand at that time. So that is my. I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong here, but I can't understand the rationale as to why Droṇācārya, being called a great soul, was materially motivated to take the sides of Droṇācārya. That's my point.
So you are now referring to the incident where Draupadi was disrobed.
Yeah, you see, that was the starting point where this whole thing started. That started the war, in fact, right? So
yes, but that paper, as I said, even Bhishma Dev was there.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So again, you have to understand that these are the instances which, as I mentioned a couple of days ago, that these are the stories which actually are attracting us to hear it more. And then now we come to the side where we can see that even, if, I can also say that if that wouldn't have happened, even this Leela we won't be hearing now.
Yes, I understand that point.
So the whole point is that we have to take everything in its context. When Draupadi was disrobed, that was a completely different, you can also say that pastime also was made so that people understand that when we call Krishna with complete surrender, Krishna will come immediately. In that pastime it happened.
Yeah.
So these personalities are, we have to see them from different Leela point of view. At different times, different things happen. Bhishma Pitama, even though
I understand this point because you raised yesterday from a one principle, there's a higher principle to a higher principle. If you take that logical understanding, then it is right. Yes, what you're saying is right, because we can't see the principles behind all these things. If you take along those lines, perhaps that may be the best approach to answer these particular questions. Am I right?
Yes, in a way, yes.
Yeah.
And also, when Prabhupada writes a particular purport,
Mhm.
he is, putting things in context. At times, as we know, like Narad Muni is called Lord, right?
Mm.
Now, that doesn't mean that he's Supreme Personality Godhead, but Prabhupada says that for many, senior personalities, senior Vaishnavas, the term Lord can be used.
Yes.
So we have to understand these things in the context.
Yeah.
And when we read the entire Mahabharata and entire Bhagavatam very thoroughly, then we can understand, yes, this is the reason why this happened and why this was written by Prabhupada.
Yes.
Prabhu, I would like to add a comment here as well, like just on my view on this situation. So in case of both Droṇācārya and Aśvatthāmā, of course, the major reason why they would have chosen certain path is quite, it's a Leela taking over, which is the supreme thing. But even at a material level, it appears like they followed at some cases their Swadharma instead of the Paradharma, which is surrendering to Krishna. So they followed what their material obligations or material dharma was. But it's still a dharma they were following. Whereas in case of Aśvatthāmā, it was not paradharma because they were not following Krishna. It was not even a material dharma. So that's why the act is degraded at all levels, material or spiritual. That's why we cannot compare Droṇācārya's or Bhīshma actions to Aśvatthāmā, because it was not in line with any dharma, material or spiritual. This is just my point of view on this.
No, very valid point, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I also want to comment a bit on this. I mean, I've heard from my classes in Middle East when I was there that we are talking 5,000 years ago, but today Aśvatthāmā is still alive, and it's been told that he'll be the next Vedavyas in the next yuga or something. So people basically it's a point of time, and I think we should just they are developing in their consciousness, and eventually everybody will go back to Godhead. That's what I'm just saying. Okay, Krishna. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, everybody.
Hi, God. It's Shyam Govinda here. I just wanted to share something that I read some time back. It's this from Hridayananda Maharaj's book. I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember all of it, but I remember Maharaj is he's writing this section where this is where Krishna's charging at Bhishmadev with the chariot wheel, and something nice that he writes. He says that this whole, obviously in this context we're talking about Bhishma and Drona, they are bound to the throne, and therefore in the pastime with Draupadi, for them they saw that their allegiance was with whoever's on the throne. But in the book, Hridayananda Maharaj is writing that even Krishna promised not to take part in the war, but the reason why he was charging, and he was showing that even though all these other personalities, they were kind of staunch to their vow, but Krishna shows that even Krishna is willing to break his promise for the love of his devotee. So, we can see it from that perspective that, this whole Leela or this whole pastime takes place simply for the culmination of that pastime between Bhishma and Krishna, where Krishna shows that he's willing to break his promise to show his love for his devotee. So I think that was something nice that I've read that I wanted to share.
Thank you, Prabhu. We can see that in these verses, we can see that the way Prabhupada, the way Prabhupada has given the purport, his focus is entirely on Arjuna. His focus is entirely on the practical side of it, on how we can apply things, how Krishna puts us to test. Even in the next verse, we will see that Prabhupada is not putting so much focus on Aśvatthāmā and what he did was right or wrong, but he in the purport is giving us very practical lessons. So on that note, we can probably move forward onto the next verse. I'll just recite the words and probably we can then end our class today. So this is text 41. Athopetya swasibram sibiram Govinda priya sartabhi Nyavedyat tam priyayai sochantya atmajan hatan. Translation. After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his dear friend and charioteer Śrī Kṛṣṇa, entrusted the murderer onto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered son. It's a very short purport. I'll just read the purport quickly as well. The transcendental relation of Arjuna with Krishna is of the dearmost friendship. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself has claimed Arjuna as his dearmost friend. Every living being is thus related with the Supreme Lord by some sort of affectionate relation, either as servant or as friend or as a parent or as an object of conjugal love. Everyone thus can enjoy the company of the Lord in the spiritual realm if it at all desires and sincerely tries for it by the process of Bhakti Yoga. So we can again see Prabhupada is entirely focusing on our relationship with Krishna, how we develop love for Krishna, and how eventually our relationship with Krishna will be revealed to us. So on that note, we will end today's session and we will continue tomorrow. Any final comments or questions from anybody? Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Granthrat Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you very much, Sneha Bhakti
Thank
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you,
Prabhupada ki
Mataji.
jai.